When you think of India's geography, the first thing that probably comes to mind are those towering Himalayas, right? But they're actually the newcomers. The real ancient heart of the subcontinent is this vast, stable tableland that's been around for millions and millions of years. This is the story of the Peninsular Plateau, India's geological anchor.
So how do you even begin to understand a place this old? I mean, how do you build something so vast and so incredibly stable? Well, the answer isn't really about building at all. It's about a journey. A journey that started when our world looked completely different.
All right, so let's rewind the clock. I'm talking hundreds of millions of years ago. Back then, the world map would be totally unrecognizable. India wasn't its own landmass. Nope, it was actually locked into this colossal supercontinent way down south. And that supercontinent was called Gondwana. Just picture it. One single landmass connecting what we now know as South America, Africa, Antarctica, Australia, and India. But, deep within the Earth, these massive forces started tearing it all apart. And a piece, the future Indian subcontinent, broke free and started its long, lonely drift north across the ancient oceans. Yeah, and that journey from Gondwana, that's the absolute key to understanding just how old this plateau is. We're not just talking old, we're talking about one of the original foundational blocks of the Earth's crust. Seriously, think of it as a true geological elder, a piece of the planet's very first surface. But here's the thing, its journey was anything but peaceful. After breaking away, this ancient piece of land was about to face a trial of almost unimaginable intensity, an event that would scar it and shape its surface forever. Yeah, its first trial was fire. Before it became this land of rounded hills and gentle valleys we see today, it was a world of fire. For thousands and thousands of years, the landscape was just dominated by these huge fissures pouring out rivers of molten rock. And look, this wasn't just a single volcano erupting. You have to imagine these massive cracks opening up on the Earth's crust, just unleashing seas of lava. These flows spread out, wave after wave, flooding huge areas, some over a mile thick. As all that lava cooled, it solidified into layers of dark, igneous rock. That literally means rock forged from fire. And that's what created this step-like formation we now call the Deccan Traps. And you know what? The legacy of that fire is still with us. Over millions of years, the weather, wind, rain, you name it, broke down these hard volcanic rocks. This long process of wearing down, what we call denudation, created that famously fertile black soil, or Reger soil. It's what makes the region absolutely perfect for growing crops like cotton, and that has shaped its agricultural destiny ever since. Okay, so this massive tableland isn't just one big, flat thing. There's actually a great river valley that divides it into two really distinct sections, and each one has its own unique character. Let's take a look at how it's all laid out. So first up, if you look north of the Narmada River, you've got the Central Highlands. This part includes the really wide Malwa Plateau, which is bordered by the ancient Aravalli and Vindhyan ranges. And here's a cool detail. Notice the direction of the rivers here, like the Chambal and the Betwa. They all flow northeast, which gives us a really clear clue about the general slope of the land. Now, head south of the Narmada, and we find the iconic Deccan Plateau. You can't miss its distinct triangular shape, right? It's higher in the west, and then it slopes gently down towards the east. And that eastward tilt, it's absolutely crucial, because it dictates the direction of major rivers, like the Godavari, the Krishna, and the Kaveri. They all flow east, emptying out into the Bay of Bengal. So, what about the edges of this giant triangle? Well, the raised western and eastern edges are marked by two really prominent mountain ranges that run parallel to the coasts. And these are, of course, the famous Ghats. And really, this comparison tells the whole story. On one side, you have the Western Ghats, which form this continuous, almost wall-like barrier. They're higher, steeper, and just more formidable. But on the other side, the Eastern Ghats are lower, and they're broken up, a series of irregular hills that have been cut through by all those big rivers flowing from the plateau out to the sea. I mean, the height difference is pretty significant. The Western Ghats average between 900 and 1,600 meters, so they act as this massive barrier. What happens is they intercept all that moisture-packed monsoon wind coming off the Arabian Sea. They force the air to rise, cool down, and then, bam, release heavy rainfall. That process is called orographic rain, and it's exactly why the western coast is so lush and green. Now, because this plateau is so incredibly ancient, it means it's been exposed to the forces of nature. We're talking wind, water, and just time itself for way longer than almost any other landform in India. And that has profoundly sculpted what it looks like today.
So what you get, instead of those sharp, jagged peaks you see in young ranges like the Himalayas, is a landscape defined by gently rounded hills and these wide, shallow valleys. The Aravalli Hills on its northwestern edge are the perfect example. They're basically the worn-down stubs of mountains that were once as mighty as any on Earth, just ground down by hundreds of millions of years of erosion.
But all that long, intense geological history has another crucial benefit. The immense heat and pressure over all those eons have transformed the rocks, basically turning the plateau into a treasure chest of minerals. This is especially true in its eastern extension, the Chotanagpur region, which is just loaded with iron ore, coal, and manganese.
So what's the big takeaway here? What does this all mean? Well, the Peninsular Plateau is way more than just a landform. It's the stable geological anchor that the rest of the entire subcontinent is built on.
And the contrast couldn't be more stark. You've got the Himalayas, which are geologically young, unstable, and are still rising even today. And then you have the plateau, an ancient, stable block of land. It's really the difference between youthful, chaotic energy and ancient, weathered wisdom. And its importance isn't just geological, not by a long shot. All that mineral wealth we talked about, it has been the absolute bedrock of India's industrial development, connecting this ancient landmass directly to the engine of the modern nation.
So, having witnessed the drift of continents, fiery volcanic floods, and the rise and fall of entire mountain ranges, this plateau has stood the test of deep time. It really makes you wonder, right? As our world continues to change so fast, what new stories, what new chapters are being written right now on this ancient, steadfast heart of India?